Okay, welcome to today's introduction to the servers that we have here at the IBIS and other computing solutions that we can have access to. And well, my name is Eric Normando. I'm working for the platform de bioinformatique à l'IBIS, de l'IBIS, from the IBIS here. And the objective for today is to run through like some informations for you to know how to get access to these compute servers and how to use them. So first, where you can run those computations, the available documentation, how to register to have access to the servers, where to ask for help, some available workshops, and how to connect to the servers. After that, we are more into the details of how to use them. So cheat sheets for the Bash terminal, text editors that you can use, loading and using software, the resources that are available at the different servers, and then how to use the Slurm scheduler to launch your jobs and launch and stop your jobs, basically. So around here at the IBIS, there's three main places where you can think of doing your computation. At the IBIS itself, we have three servers now, Katak, Manitou, and a Superdome cluster or server, which is actually deployed at Valeria or with Valeria. But then there's Valeria, they have a whole range of servers that can be used for research purposes. And then there's also the Digital Research Alliance in Canada, which replaces Compute Canada. And so what you have access to like without any cost is the Digital Research Alliance servers. At the IBIS here, we do have servers that are very good solutions for us, but we need to create an account for each user. And there's a cost, which is around $300, $350 now. And Valeria, they are supposed to have some costs in the future, but for now it's free to use them. For all of these three places, you need to register in order to have access to the servers. The documentation, like this presentation, is going to be shared afterwards in PDF, so no necessarily need to take pictures or take notes. We're going to send the presentations in French and English in PDF format, this exact presentation. And so the documentation for Valeria is in French only for now. I don't know if they have potentially plans to make it in English too. At the IBIS, we do have some documentation, but here we are basically talking about registration. So those are the links where you can apply for registration on those servers. And also you have the documentation for each of those. So again, you will have access to all of these links that we will send. I'll try to send them this afternoon. Then you also have support for all of these three platforms. So here at the IBIS, if you encounter any sort of problem, you can write to bioinfo@ibis.ulaval.ca and you'll reach one of the team. And similarly, Valeria and Digital Alliance Canada, they have their emails where you can contact them for support. Diving into the world of computation is not necessarily easy at first, so it's kind of good to have access to workshops or tutorials or material like that to learn how to use the servers. And so here's a list of different places that offer workshops. The Compute Quebec ones are, I think they may have some free material online, but basically often they offer introduction material to Bash, so the terminal language in the Linux clusters, and like programming in Python, in R, scientific programming, and different things. So it's a really good source. I think for students, it's usually like $10 or something like that. And then it's worth checking what the university is offering. Those are in French only, however. And Physalia, if you don't know about this group, it's a group that specializes in giving workshops that last from 2 to 5 days, let's say. They are mainly online now, and they've been doing this for at least 6 years, 6 or 7 years, and they're really good, and it's really high quality workshops. It's worth going to their website like often, I would say. Check what kind of courses they are offering. They are really high quality if you want to learn about a specific subject. I would recommend them. They are a bit expensive though. They're going to be around $500 to $700. As students, you often have access to grants or money that you can use for formations like that or training like that. All right, now this is kind of technical. When you want to use the servers, you have to log into the servers, and there's different ways to do this. I'm not pretending that we can read on this screen, basically, but on the different operating systems, Linux, Mac, and Windows, there are different options. If you're a Windows person, I really suggest that you use MOBA Xterm. It's written there. I don't know how legible it's going to be for you in the future, so you might want to write this one down. So it's MOBA, MOBA, XTERM for terminal, and it's a really good option. In Mac OS, you will have a terminal just like in Linux. You can open a terminal like that. And sorry. So you can open a terminal in Linux or Mac, and it will work out of the box. And then when you want to connect, I'll just go somewhere else first. So for example, you will go SSH, and then your username, then the server name, and normally you will be prompted for a password. I just created an SSH key to bypass the password, but normally you'd have a password to enter. And so this is how you would reach the servers and be able to work on them. So this is what I did, basically just connecting. And those are the addresses of the different servers you had access to. So Many2 is the main legacy, I don't know, server from the IBIS here that a lot of people are still using. Katak is the, let's say it was its grandfather or something like that. It's still working. You can run some things on there if Many2 is full or something like that. However, it's much slower. Then if you want to log into different Valeria servers, this is the login name for the servers, for the access. Beluga and Narval are two suggested servers from the Digital Research Alliance in Canada. I can't remember. I think Narval is the one that's more recent and so a bit more powerful. In order to log, just like I just did, to the one of the servers here at the IBIS, you have to be on campus or use the VPN. So basically your IP address, the address of your internet connection needs to be on the campus, either through the VPN or through being here. Once you log into the different servers, the login node, this is the place where you end up, like here, is the place you are connected to. This place has access to internet, basically. So I could download data from the internet. So this is just to show that I can reach Google. So you can use this entry point to download data. You can use it to prepare your scripts and your job submission scripts, and to manage your computational environment. So if you need some packages or things loaded, you can do this there. You can install software if needed, but you don't run computations there. So when I just log in there, I'm not going to just launch a program there. This is not how we use those shared servers. If we did that, we would crash all the servers because like too many people would want to work at the same time. So what we do, I guess this is, well, this is going to be later, but what we do is we submit jobs. We tell the server what we want to do, and it will decide when to run it. This was just a snapshot to show what's in Valeria, so I can show you. I'm going to disconnect from Manitou. I'm going to go to Valeria. I can just show you. This is an alias to basically this command. So I'm connecting to that server. Sometimes it's a bit slower to respond. Just for the login. And so you see, you get basically a login message that sometimes gives you information like where to get help and the website from Valeria. I guess I'll just come back to this. Okay, so when you work on the different servers on Manitou or Katak, you have access to some space here that your researcher is going to pay for, and that gives you the right to put your files there and do your computation there and write the output files there. So your researcher will have to pay a certain amount per terabyte, basically, and those files are accessible from Manitou and Katak in the same location. If you were to work on Valeria, I hope it's connected now, this location is different, but we do have, is it directly MNT, IBIS? If you go to this location, then the data of all the research groups here at the IBIS is available also. It's just a different location basically than you would have on the other servers. If you don't have access to a VPN and you're outside the campus and you want to connect to one of the servers, there's another way you can use. So basically, this is the Valeria page, and if you have an account, you can connect. And then from there, you could launch what they would call a Jupyter notebook. So here in the center. And then you'll get this, start my server. You'll put some information. This is basically just a very small instance that you're running to which you connect and you can do things. So you don't want to, unless that's what you want to do, you don't want to like put 10 CPUs or something. I just want to connect there and be able to reach the server and maybe submit jobs. So one core is enough. So I'm going to start this, and this can take a while to run. But this is a way that you could access. So we'll come back to that later. But basically, this will give me, through the web, I could be anywhere on the planet. I could connect to this and reach the servers instead of connecting like this. I'm going to end up with a similar terminal. So the Jupyter Hub, which is the thing I'm launching right now, it's accessible from the internet. The nodes, however, that you connect to are not connected to the internet. So basically, I won't be able to download data if I'm connected there, but I can do all the other things like developing, trying my software, writing and submitting my jobs. And I also have access to different things that you may already know and want to use, like Jupyter Lab notebooks, RStudio, and VS Code. So when you start using the servers like that, everything you do is going to be done by using bash commands. Like, for example, I'll just type ls. I could try to find where I'm located now, where I'm working now, and different commands. So we do have some sort of a cheat sheet that you can go and get on the support page that's in French only, I think. No, the page is in French and English at the IBIS here. and the cheat sheet is in English. So those are all, like, again, you can't read those things, but those are all important bash commands that could help you to navigate the system and launch your jobs. If you don't know about the command, then you can use the man command. Man is for manual. So I want to know more about the echo command. Oh, that's a bash command though. Okay, so it will tell me the name of the command, how to use it, and the options and any sort of information. So this is a primary source of documentation for all the commands that we use on the servers. When you want to quit this, well, it's even written at the bottom here. You can press Q to quit. Otherwise, you can just ask Google. It's probably your best bet at finding a solution to your problem. When you work on the server, if you work on MobiXterm on Windows, you'll have a text editor in there. Be careful with that text editor because it will enter like, I'm going to take a step back. When you work on different systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, we all write text files basically, and we use text files extensively, especially in Linux. And there's different ways to encode the end of the line in different systems. And so in Windows, it's going to be carriage with \r/n is a line return. In Linux, it's going to be only \n, and in Mac, it used to be only \r or something like that. So they couldn't understand each other, basically. If you write your files in Windows and then you transfer them to the server, it's possible that you'll have problems because you will try to read a line, and the line is going to end up, for example, with \r/n. And Linux will say, well, this is the end of the line, but it will keep the \r as part of the line. So it could be at the end of a sample name that you have or whatever. It's going to corrupt like the information that you want to use. So you need to be careful with that. Otherwise, once you're on the servers, what we usually do is we use different text editors. And one of the easiest, I think, is Nano. I'm just going to create the bogus file, and I can write whatever in this file. And then Nano is easy because, like for newcomers, because you have basically the shortcuts of the commands, the different commands you can do here. So if I want to exit, this little character means control. So if I do Control X, it will ask me, do you want to save? I'll say yes with a Y. And then it will ask me what file name to use. I want to reuse the same name, and I just saved my file. So you could write scripts with that if you want. There's Nano, there's, which ones are the like usual ones? It's going to be basically Nano, or there used to be another one. Is Joe there? You can use Joe if you prefer this. You'll just have to basically find one that you like and use it. So this is another one. It says Control K and then Q for quit. You can use Vim if you want. I don't suggest new people use Vim, but there's Vim, there's Emacs, there's other things that you can learn to use if you want to edit text on the servers. So anyways, if ever you start using the servers and you encounter a problem where you can't do what you want to do for whatever reason, you can just write to us if you're using the servers from the IBIS or these other support groups for Valeria or the Digital Research Alliance, and we'll be able to help you find a solution that works for you. If you're in the building here, it's even like easier. I can just drop in your office and help you find something that works for you. Jupyter Lab, are we ready here? So basically here we started the server, and I ended up, like I told you, like basically in a terminal that's very similar, and I could do exactly the same things here and find again my test file. and edit it if I want. Ooh, it's fairly pale. I don't know, there might be themes that we can use. Well, at least we can see something. And so this is another option if you don't want to use the VPN, basically. And in there is going to be a text editor somewhere. I'm not used to using this that much. I guess I can go on the little icon for the folders, and then I could go and edit my text file directly. And this is basically its own text editor. It's a different thing that I've never personally used, but that is functional. On the different servers, how you manage the software is a bit different. So on Manitou and Katak, you'll check if servers are available, if software is available using module. The module command, like module search. If you just do module, I'm on Valeria right now. I'm gonna do something. Oops. So I'm going on Manitou right now, and let's say I want to know what's existing in terms of software. I can do module list, like Stefan said. Oops. Yeah, module avail is the one that's going to work. So with module avail, it tells you all the modules that are available, and it might not be the best way to search for them. So you'll have module search, I guess. No, module avail also. Avail. And let's say I'm looking for SAM tools. And then it tells me all the versions of SAM tools I have access to. So if I wanted to load one of them, like this one, I could go module load SAM tools 1.8. And now I have access to SAM tools. So on Manitou, this is what you would do. On Valeria, you would use module spider to do the same thing. I don't know the reason for the difference. Is it a difference in versions? Okay, so those are just completely different. And so then how to use them is a bit different, but basically you have module avail here and module spider for Valeria and the research, Digital Research Alliance. If you need some software to be installed and you're at the IBIS and you want this to be installed on Manitou or Katak, then you can write to us. It's going to be bioinfo@ibis.qlaval.ca, and Stefan is probably going to be installing the software. If you want to, you're just going to ask different people if you want software on Valeria or the Alliance servers, and you're going to write to them basically. And same thing, if you need some Python libraries, you can always use Conda, Miniconda, or Mamba, or something like that to manage your packages by yourself on any of those. Although, yeah, on any of those, basically. Going to go on Manitou. So here, I'll have to make this smaller. When you want to know what's running on the server, you use the SQ command. So these are different jobs that are launched on the server right now. Some of them are running. You can see there's an R here. Some of them are pending. So awaiting for the resources to be available for the jobs to run. There's also another set of commands. I'm sorry, I saw some, I'm going to switch to a white background. So somebody squint when I did that earlier, so it might be harsh on the eyes. But in this location, you have commands in Bash that you can source in your Bash environment. We can talk about this. If you want to do this later, you can just write to us. And what will happen then is that you have access to a set of commands that are just like more expressive and more informative when you use the server to see what's running and to manage your jobs, basically. So one of the most important ones is this one here, S. So if I just use S, I'm going to get the same information as before, but now there's different columns. There's more information. It's a bit more useful, and my personal jobs are in red, so it's a bit easier to track what I'm doing because I don't necessarily want to know what everybody else is doing. There's also a report here that tells you how much memory is used out of the 2 terabytes of that server and how many of the CPUs are being used right now. And also, if you're part of a group at the IBIS here, it tells you how much available space is remaining for your group. And you can kind of keep an eye on this from time to time to be sure that you're not filling up your space. So now on to the job scheduler. Slurm is the name of a piece of software that manages when your jobs get run on the server. So basically, I told you earlier, you don't just launch a program on the servers. You will, like if people did that, it wouldn't work. So what we do is we write a Slurm script that tells the server what you want to do, how much resources you need, and then it will take this into account and all the other jobs that are waiting presently and place them in a way that maximizes resource usage. And when it's ready, it's going to launch your job. So it allocates the resources for just like one specific job for the duration of the job. And there are, I guess I'll show you an example first. In the help here, in these commands, you can run this command here, slurm header, and it will, it will create a slurm file. And this is what it looks like, basically. So this first line, that's nice. This first line here, it basically tells the system that the code in this page is bash code. It's a bit dark, and then all the lines that begin with a pound sign and then sbash are special instruction for Slurm. And so we're going to tell it here, like, what's the name of the job? What's the name of the output log that we want? What partition we want to use? This is going to be different by server, basically. How many CPUs we want to use, the amount of memory we want to use, and how much time we want to use. Here, you have an option to tell it like your email address, and the server will send you an email whenever different things occur. But if you use all here, just like I did here, it will send you an email if your job starts, if it stops, if it crashes, and potentially other things. This line here, oops, that's not the one. This line here, slurm submit there, CD slurm submit there. It will, when the job starts on the server will make sure it goes back to the exact same directory as when you launched it. I'm not sure it's not needed in all cases, but it could be useful. Those here are just examples of creating variables. When you create variables in bash like that, you just use an equal sign and no space on each side. So we just created 2 variables here. Then we load the module that we will need, SANTools in this case. And then we don't do much except like printing a line of text, and the help from SANTools is all we do in this job. But this is where at the bottom here, where you would be launching your computation. So anytime you want to launch something on the servers, this is what you have to do. You need to maybe do a small test, know that your code works, and then put your code in a script like that. Or launch your other script from this Slurm script. So on the different servers, you have access to different partitions. Here on Manitou, these are the ones that are available. Most people have access to small, medium, large, and these have different amount of time that you can use. So 1 day, 7 days, 21 days. And they also have different amounts of, and those might be outdated, but I'll show you where you can get the updated information. But just to give an example, so you have access to 40 CPUs and 500 gigabytes of RAM in the small partition, more RAM, but not more CPUs in medium, and of course 7 days. And in large, where you have access to 21 days, you can use only 20 CPUs and a maximum of 400 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah, that's basically it for those. So what I want to do here is tell you how to use Slurm better. First, you need to use resources that are compatible with the partition that you are asking for, or could say that in the opposite direction. You need to use partitions that have enough resources for what you want to do. You can check that your jobs are running with the SQ or the S command that I showed you earlier if you have added those commands to your bash environment. You can check the current usage of the server, like I did also. You can, sometimes some of the partitions are going to have lots of computation in them already. It's always better to use the small partition because it's going to be faster programs or faster computation going on. Like if it's completely used and you start something, well, tomorrow you might start. If you want to use the large partition and something's already running for 20 days, you might have to wait a long time. So this leads us to some of the best tips are ask for a minimum of resources. Don't ask for more than what you need, except for time and memory. So don't use more CPUs than your code can actually use, and don't use too much memory. It's kind of hard to determine in advance like how much memory your computation is going to need. This will come with experience, but you can always start with something like 20 gigabytes. On a system like that where we have 100 times more than that, 20 gigabytes is okay. You can try this number. If it crashes because of lack of memory, you can go to 50. If it still crashes, you could go to 100, and you can also start asking yourself questions. Is it really doing what it should be doing? If you ask for too much memory or too many CPUs, you're going to get an email from us basically that's going to be a report telling you asked for so many CPUs and that much RAM, but you only use like one of the 20 CPUs or 10 of the 200 gigabytes of RAM. So this is just a reminder for you next time you run a similar job to ask for for less resources basically. And then the ultimate thing is if you can split your jobs, don't try to run like one big chunk that does all the steps of your computation, because some of the steps will need lots of CPUs, others will need just one CPU, but lots of RAM. And if you have to ask for resources so that all the steps can work at once, you're gonna ask for huge amounts of resources. If you can cut this into smaller parts, all the parts will have more chances of running fast and they leave more resources available for the other users. Also, sometimes you can easily parallelize things. Let's say you have 100 samples to map to a genome. Well, you could launch small jobs for each of them. They're going to be really small jobs, and the scheduler is going to be able to easily like put them all quickly, run them all quickly, basically. And in some cases, if you have lots of small jobs, the way to do this is to use task arrays. That's a bit more advanced, but I think we should have maybe a small workshop on that in the following months, I'll say. So this is basically another example of exactly what I told you before, but those are the instructions for Slurm, and you give the different informations so that it knows how many CPUs, what partition, how much RAM, etc. And then you actually do your computation. If you need more information, Slurm itself has a page with extensive documentation. And those are the places to get support, like I said earlier. If you need support from the platform here, or Valeria, or the Digital Alliance, you'll have the addresses. And that's basically it. So I don't know if I went a bit fast. You can ask any sort of question, like any sort of thing that you don't know how to do, and you're not sure about how you would actually get on those servers and do computations. I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you for providing all the details. You said there are some number of pass command line we can find. Could you please share with us the path so we can?
Okay, so this is not something I've showed, but if you go to ibis.ulaval.ca, we do have a web page like that. I'm gonna switch to English just because today is an English group. And on the top here, you have different tabs and you have services. In services, you're gonna find the different platforms and services, and there's the bioinformatics platform right here. And on the right side here, you're gonna have the documentation on using servers. And in here, you're gonna have lots of different bits of information. I'm trying to get, so there's Unix commands here. And this is the Linux cheat sheet that we saw in small on the screen earlier. So you can go and get this from the documentation on the platform from the IBIS website. Any other question? Wait.
So when I have a R script and then I submit the R script, I like let the whole R script run over the server. And when I then it plots, I mean like PDFs which were produced, they are then all saved on this.
So normally the default in R, I'm going to answer your last question first, but then maybe we need to think of another solution for what you want to do. By default in R, if you do a plot, I could do this easily, I guess. I just go in R and I'm going to do a plot. It's going to be a very exciting plot. Oh, actually, I did connect with an X window forwarding. So it does like show me the plus. Normally the default, which I wanted to show, which I buggled, is that it would write a file that would be called rplot.pdf. If you were to create multiple plots in your R script, I'm not sure how it would handle that. If it would override the same one or call them like rplot, parenthesis 1, 2, 3. I don't know how it would do that. Otherwise, in R, if you want to do figures, you can just use the different PDF or PNG or whatever and call your figure. And then some options. Whatever, and no, it's not, it's width and height. And then if I do my plot and close the device, and then I go and look here, I have a file that's called the name I created. And so you could like explicitly specify the name of the output files that you want, and this would work better, I think, than just creating the plot, because you're not in RStudio or some environment like that, and by default you won't have like all the plots shown to you. If you do want to, I don't know if I still have this open here, but if you do want to, in Valeria, you could create an RStudio environment. Basically, you are going to create a small server. Can I do this right here? So in Valeria, I started a server and I could launch RStudio there, and I could use this to do my computation and save things. So that would give you an environment maybe more similar to what you're used to. So depending, like I suggest you just try, connect to the server, try to do what you want. If you have any sort of problem, it doesn't produce the output like you want, whatever, just contact us, we'll find a solution. Because there would be like different solutions for different people. Any other question? So if some of you already have an account on some of those servers and you brought your computer and you want to stay after, we can just make sure you can connect and maybe have access to the other commands I showed you, or show you a little bit around on the servers, if this could help you. And don't hesitate to write if you have questions. All right, thank you.